So, hello everybody. On behalf of Pilecki-Institute, I would like to welcome all of you to our final meeting, final panel discussion, summary of this amazing project, amazing meeting, Nexus, the Nexus of Decision, Ukraine, Poland, Germany, and from this place I would like to express my grateful especially to our curator, Katerina Tarabukina, who invented that and created. Thank you very much. And to Vitsche, which is a partner of this project, and to Stiftung Genshagen and director of Stiftung Genshagen, Frau Eder. Thank you very much that you came. And I would say from my side that what I saw, it's I think it was very intensive time and a lot of issues, topics to discuss and amazing meetings. I hope it was not only this looking for these differences, why we sometimes think in different way, but it was probably, I hope, also this chance to meet, to have time. I mean, to also to create this space, this safe space for dialogue, for exchange our thoughts in this safe, friendly space. And Aristoteles, I remember, I mean, what I like very much in what he has written about what is the difference between animal and human being. It's that we can be friends, yes? So the friendship which is creating this from this, this is the main space where we can be politically, do politics, but in this wider meaning. It's not everything is what make this difference. And it's also the friendship which allow us that we can be different, but still we have something in common. And I hope that this time for you, I mean, I'm saying right now to participants, that it also was this chance to get to know each other and perhaps to touch this experience of building friendships. So thank you very much, and thanks a lot also to our team from Pilecki-Institute, especially to Grzegorz Tomczewski, who was taking care for everything. And from Genshagen Stiftung, Małgosia Nizioł, thank you very much for everything. So now I would like to ask our amazing guest, Frau Eder.
Yeah, hello everybody. I don't know what to say because the majority I welcomed in Genshagen when you just arrived and you met and now you have been together in different workshops, in excursions, in meetings. You discussed all night long, and I'm looking forward to listen to you after these intense days. And I don't want to repeat what I said in the beginning when you arrived in Genshagen. I think it's important, you know, that we bring different spheres together. So the artists, the historians, the political science, etc. The different countries, also different organizations, and different views. Because I think it's important, and that's what we see, especially in these polarized, heated times. We need the time to listen to each other. And even if we don't agree, that we first listen and then start to discuss and maybe listen to the other perspective. I think that's even more important than it was 5 or 10 years ago, because sometimes it's so tense. And of course, when this war is so horrible that sometimes we are missing words to express our thoughts. But I think it's still important to maybe stay silent for a moment, listen to the other one, and then exchange the different perspectives. And therefore, I really enjoyed, as I'm a historian myself, I really enjoyed, Katharina, that you also integrated in the program a lot of historical background, because it's so important in all the countries I worked with. It was always good that I knew the history of the country and the background, and that there's not only one interpretation, and one could read different events from different angles, and so important to know each other. And here in Europe, we really have to talk to each other and together to think about how we can go on together. And so thank you very much. I'm looking forward to your contributions. Thanks again to Pilecki for the cooperation, especially a big thank you to you, Katharina, because, I mean, you, as I said in the beginning, you were the mastermind. I remember exactly, I was just sitting in the same fauteuil 5 minutes ago, where you presented me the idea, and I was impressed sort of by your energy and by the idea and how you brought it all together and brought these people here to Genshagen and Berlin. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
And Katerina, I also remember first time when Katerina came and said, this is so interesting how we are different, and I would like to look deeply inside why we are different, how it happened. So thank you very much. Also, congratulations, and the floor is yours. And
thank you, both of you. Thank you. Thank you, participants. And that's true about idea. Of course, it was a very pragmatic idea as a Ukrainian curator, because for sure, as also part of Vitsche and the part of this curatorial projects in Vitsche, and also the part of, let it say, this fight for freedom in Berlin. And I was really thinking about what we can do and how we stressed sometimes during first months of full-scale invasion. I had this impression that sometimes I cannot communicate with different people regarding one very simple topic. Yes, and I was asking myself, what is the context behind? Yes, why people not even can think like in my head as usually. Yes, just more like how we can find these cross points to find the common ground, yes, because it's for Ukraine, for Ukrainian culture, and this dimension of existence is crucial point, yes, so it's not just let's talk about peace, freedom, security, yes, it's just the question of lives that we're losing each day. But how to implement it in the projects that at one hand could stress different people from different background, from different geopolitical region. And I came up with this, I would say, residency-academy, yes, because it's not typical residence, because in residency you usually have more free time to think, reflect. Yes, and I know it was stressful for you, yes, but as I answered for some of you who were completely in third day, like crashed with all the activity, yes, like, guys, you remember Zelensky, what he is saying, I don't have time. Yes, so it's like, we do have time here, we're privileged to have time here, but we need to learn from each other more. We need to stress our education, this learning and unlearning process, what we had, this background in schools and universities. Yes, that's why I decided to construct everything around history, because for Ukrainians it's also about history. Yes, for us it's first of all existential war that ended up after, I don't know, minimum 300 years of struggling. So history is important. That's why Pilecki-Institute, and that's why archives, that's why we were stressing you with Franziska Davis, and you sometimes feel humiliated. Yes, I know. Sometimes it's very important to know that you have some gaps, and we all have gaps. I have an enormous amount of gaps regarding Polish history, German history. Nevertheless, I'm working in this particular sphere. But I wanted you to have an opportunity, not only to have some knowledge, but also to reflect from each other, to debate, to create some more friendly connections with each other, even if you're not agree with each other. So this process in the evening, for example, yes, in the mornings, or workshops, body workshops of Eva Jakubowska, yes, and Angelika Roche was very important part, just to combine these two activities, yes, mental activities and also body activities, and also. So, and I was absolutely amazed by you. I think that we collect such brilliant people, such young, such bright and open to each other. And during these few days with you, very intensive days also for me, I learned from you so much. I really didn't expect that I get, I don't know about you, yes, we'll talk about this later, but I get from you a lot of your perspective, a lot of your, this energy, thoughts, ideas, how you think differently, and also from people from Ukraine, for example. So it's about like a particular geographical region, it's about your mindset, it's about your character, it's about your temper. And this idea, not just to try to talk with each other, see other perspective, for me personally is very, very important. And I see your gang right now, it's not even a group anymore, I see you became very close to each other. Yes, I see as a base of really brilliant think tank group that we can work further together and continue this project in very different dimensions. And I hope you had a great time in Genshagen, amazing castle with beautiful park and fantastic museum with masterpiece, and walk in East Berlin. And today we're going to talk, and we're going to finish a nice walk after that. And I hope that you perceive something, save something for yourself, learn something, and also find those friends, I don't know, with whom you can stay together, also make something together, because you're very interdisciplinary, and grow together. And I wish you good luck, and thank you very much.
The last sentence before I will give the mic to Patryk Szostak, I have forgotten, but it's so important, at last but not at least. It's the project was supported by Fundacja Stiftung der Deutsch-Polnische Zusammenarbeit. And thank you very much. Patryk.
Thank you, and yes, I would like to ask our three special distinguished guests to come at the forefront. Zuzanna, Jan, and Daria, please. Just one, they are put on mute, so if you take the microphone, please turn them off. So, yes, so as Katerina and Hania said, it's hard to believe that it's about to come to an end, although it's not a real end. It's actually probably a beginning of something new. That's what we sort of believe. And it was very, very intense. I have to admit that we didn't have some wishy-washy intellectual fast food here. It was really in depth into history theory, and I was really amazed by all of your performances. So many hours, so many days, still coming up with fresh ideas and the sort of enthusiasm. So in a way, you yourself also deserve standing ovation. And yeah, it's a little summarizing session. I could small introduction first. Jan, you are a assistant director at the Performing Arts Program, Berlin. PhD from Freie Universität, theater practitioner, cultural maker, and a pretty strong, I would say, German-Polish background, which has certainly also shaped your perspective. Next to Jan sitting is Zuzanna, architect, curator, about to get a PhD from the Warsaw Faculty of Architecture, and also active for the National Institute of Architectural Planning. And to my very right, Daria, journalist, editor, critic, in other words, a woman of the word. And I would like to start from the very beginning. I mean, where have you heard about our program? What were your first intuitions, what it might be? And now looking back at those extremely, again, fruitful and intense 6 days, did your sort of expectations become true, or was it something completely different? What sort of experience was it for you? Would like to start? Maybe Jan, I can see that.
Hello, hello. Yeah, it's working? Great. How did I learn about this project? It was in some Telegram group. And I stumbled upon it by chance, actually. I mean, since about 10 years, I've been working between Poland and Germany, mostly in Poland and Germany, in the field of performance art and theater. And I just experienced that there is a kind of, how to say, difference or like disbalance, you could even say, between certain topics, between certain trends and values in culture. Well, felt that, well, somehow there is a kind of superiority, if you like, with the context in Germany. And I felt as a German Pole, or as a Polish German, I didn't feel well. And it was only actually with this full-scale invasion, like last year, and reading all those, I don't know, open letters, newspaper articles about the German reaction, or actually the lack of reaction, that I was thinking, wow, there's something more at stake than just my personal history, but rather like a maybe bigger part of ignorance from the German side towards what we could call like the Eastern Bloc, or countries like Poland and the Ukraine. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to come together with thinkers and artists and people from the Ukraine and from Poland to discuss and to learn from each other.
Yeah, it's working. How have I heard about the program? Yeah, I'm following what both Pilecki-Institute and Vitsche do. I've been always interested in the program of exercising modernity. Obviously as an architect and architectural curator, always admiring the program and the events and the the research projects that gained the scholarship and have been developed. But also why I found this idea of Nexus interesting is because since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, as an architect and let's say sort of architectural activist, I've been engaged in many initiatives. Initiatives which were platforms of discussion, also support initiatives like Projektanci dla Ukrainy, so designers for Ukraine. We initiated together with Kacper Kępiński at the National Institute of Architecture and Urban Planning. So we've been like already having a lot of friends in Ukraine. Before we were trying to support them from like our position as architects as well as possible, but somehow we've been discussing at our team and with our circle of, let's say, architectural circle, we've been discussing that maybe this link, this connection with the Western Europe somehow is missing, like this point of view. We have a lot of working groups, like Polish-Ukrainian working groups. For instance, Dom Odbudowy Ukrainy, that the conservatorship office in Warsaw initiated, which is actually amazing initiative because Michał Krasucki, the conservator, is being in touch weekly with all the conservators from all the cities in Ukraine and actually engaging very actively in a material and any know-how support, and many other initiatives. But somehow we've been discussing, and we already actually initiated a project at the Institute, at the National Institute of Architecture, networks of support, touching the topic of the infrastructure, but not only this physical infrastructure, but also the networks and the bounds. And I found it like super interesting to meet here with the representatives of these three countries. So not only stay in the circle of the like Polish-Ukrainian collaboration, but also this German point of view was super important. And yeah, it was great that we could have this very intense time and very inspiring.
Okay, frankly saying, I don't remember the exact moment that I've seen this announcement. Where was it or when was it? I don't remember actually when was the deadline. Was it December? It was like a year ago. I don't know. So the time and my mind doesn't work the same. They could work before last year, but I remember that I was very excited about the opportunity of meeting German and Polish colleagues and to continue to expand this focus and discussion about what is happening in Ukraine, which is not only the war, but I think this global discursive shift that is going on. And actually, this is very funny. I just realized that Berlinale made a joke because they made this, they have a sense of humor, and they made this on the European market that will start like tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. This also will be a discursive program which is called Shift Happens. Well, it's what it happens, shift happens, and we are here to understand how and how could we be helpful to each other, not be isolated, because one of the worst things that the war brings, and one of the long-lasting things, is isolation and breaking of social connections. And I think I'm very happy and I'm very grateful for selecting me, because I also don't remember what I wrote in the application. Was it something okay? Well,
it was certainly very convincing. That's all I can say.
Apparently. Oh, this is very important. Hear each other, speak to each other, expand this focus, and understand that you're not alone. Shift happens, and shit happens, and everything happens, and we're here for each other, and maybe we're sometimes on the same page. fundamentally or not. And it's like, I was very much looking forward to it. And this is what I got. And this is like great gift now. So thanks.
Yes, and I mean, in all of your comments right now, I think you stressed again this special experience to participate in a program which is not only a dialogue between two countries, which, I mean, it's a pretty popular format, but it's a trilogue, right, with three countries. And I think in a way it is having three countries and three different perspectives. It's a peculiar kind of exercise in intellectual understanding, but also in empathy, because you have people from all different backgrounds, and you try to understand them, and you try to question yourself. And maybe you could also expand a little bit on this, like what did this experience do to you for three countries, like and having their perspective represented at this program? And would you say that did this mostly add a lot of new insights and perspectives towards your thinking, or did it also question old patterns of thinking? Maybe we start with Jan, if you'd like.
All right, we start again with me, with the circle. First of all, I had the feeling that there was a kind of mutual understanding from the very beginning. And I don't know if I'm speaking for all of you guys, like for the participants, but it was amazing actually from the very beginning, just being stuck in the train to Genshagen. It's a good starting point to say, yes, we are from three different countries, there are differences, but no, we will get along and there's something to be done here. I think that's like, thank you, Deutsche Bahn, of course. So I think that's the baseline, but
that's a nice way of saying it's a law of unintended consequences.
I mean, sorry, now I have to comment this. I mean, the very sad thing for me is that we didn't have those kind of dialogues 2 years ago, 10 years ago, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago. And if you like, of course, it's very sad that there had to happen, or that this full-scale invasion happened, and that only now the German public, for example, I'm speaking like about the German public, like sees a kind of necessity to engage actually in those kind of initiatives. But yeah, speaking about like those occasions of meeting. But coming back to your question, like I learned so much. And yes, I had rather different expectations. Speaking about a residency, as it was called, but it was like a full-scale, I don't know, seminar, university, coming back to reading, hoping that I will not be picked out like for answering the questions. But it was a very important and great experience. But because like I just felt, yes, as Katarina was also saying, there are so many blanks in the historical knowledge of myself, maybe also of my, I don't know, German friends, just to take side, about not only Polish history, but especially about Ukrainian history. And what is maybe even more important, it's not only the factual knowledge of dates and, I don't know, events, but a kind of understanding of how the history between those countries and Russia is actually shaped and was shaped in the last, I don't know, tens of years and maybe even centuries.
Yes, sorry if I'm chaotic, because as we all keep on mentioning, it was a very intense time. Still didn't have much time to reflect on everything that we have absorbed during these days. And I think it's worth mentioning to understand the diverse perspectives. It was not only crucial that you invited three nationalities, but also people from many different backgrounds. Actually, each of the persons taking part in our so-called residency were where I think I haven't experienced such a seminar before, because usually I was close rather in a circle of architects and maybe sociologists, and here we had young lawyer, we had a performance artist, a curator, international security expert, etc. And so it's really worth mentioning that to build these bonds and to build these bridges of understanding, it's very important to go outside of your bubble, of your circle of I don't know, the closest friends or the experts you are working with on the daily basis. And I think that it was also the reason why this event was so fruitful. So we still have a lot to digest, definitely, because we have been discussing a lot, not only during this official seminar parts, some of which as also already mentioned by Jan, were a bit scary, a bit back to school vibe, with difficult questions on specific dates, specific events from the history. But this is actually, this is also very important to be aware of such of the specificity, not to move in this vague discourse and vague narrative on history, but be aware of the consequences of also of the events or of the social conditions that happened centuries ago in our countries, and how do they what's their impact on what happens today.
I don't know what to add actually, but coming back to your question about did I personally learn something new? Obviously, every day, every time, every person brings a lot of new, but also I realized how much in common do we have, all these three countries and beyond, because we were mentioning Baltic countries, global South countries, Western Europe countries, and also we also learned how to question these narratives, question these concepts, not maybe in a negative way, like, okay, it doesn't have the right to exist, but how these concepts were created, by whom, why do we use it, do we instrumentalize the notion of Eastern Europe because we use it like every day, but as we learned or read or relearned, the concept of Eastern Europe was also very problematic, and maybe it should be revised or not. But I think that what was the most important here, that we've been training to ask questions and not having answers is also okay. So I think this is a very safe thing. I think this is, well, intellectually for me, it's one of the safest things in the world. Not have the answer, and to be not afraid of having the proper answer or right answer. Fortunately, we had people who knew all the dates. Francisco, I'm looking at you. Thank you, and Stepan, who actually helped us a lot with the dates and facts and the solid history knowing. And together, actually, I think we came up with some. I hope it was insightful for everyone. But asking questions is super important, and I think this was the space for it, and it's very cool.
Thank you very much. For the vast majority of you sitting here in the audience, those pictures beyond will be fairly familiar, I'd reckon, at this point. But who has joined us from outside, we wanted to give you a glimpse of what those past days looked like, and also the schedule and the program, so they'll be shown here. Now, so obviously one of the main aims of the program was like the exploration and critical analysis of certain central notions. And I gather from your responses that we also have a lot to learn, like the notion of residency and in the future then. So definitely lesson learned. But if I may expand, Daria, on your last point, like for instance, on day one, which we can see here, the session with Franziska Davis, but also others, like we've been discussing the notion of freedom in 3 different countries. We've been also talking about the evolution of peace and pacifism, in particular in the German context. And were there like, yeah, Daria and Zuzanna, were like very specific notions, categories or so where after those 6 intense days, they have really kind of expanded your horizon and you can see added context there, like take even security or freedom?
Well, yes, for me, for example, the session that you were talking about was very insightful because I actually got more like, you know, how it is, more points to unfold further, like in the future, like more keywords I would like to investigate into, like this and Ostpolitik thing that was in Germany, and all the development of the discourse in Germany after 1945, and all this discourse about liberation and who was liberated from what and who was occupied, who's not, all these, for example, experience, yes, who had the experience of occupation and who didn't have the experience of occupation. And I believe, for example, that one of the, maybe it would be simplification, but still I believe that, for example, a lot of people in Russia are not opposing the war because they are simply not familiar with the experience of the occupation, because the biggest territory of Russia wasn't occupied during the Second World War, while for Poland and Ukraine this is an experience which everyone knows on very different forms and levels, and not only Nazi occupation, obviously. And what I realized that it is such a complex system of narratives. It's not like one narrative we're talking about, and this is like common joke at this session when we were asked like what were the main notions of freedom, what were the main gates for your, I don't know, national narrative in your countries, or the state narrative. Are you looking for a nation of the official version? Because both in Poland and in Ukraine, I think in every country there could be like just a position of the official, maybe non-official narratives, or if there something like that. So I think it's also it was very helpful for me too, because frankly saying, I cannot answer like if Ukraine has one narrative, because Ukraine is a country of multiplying narratives, multiplying fractures, systems, everything is just got split, which is, no one has the monopoly on anything. Except for security, and this is now for army of Ukraine, which has the only monopoly, fortunately. And I was very surprised when I just, okay, this narrative from the for the Renaissance, like for this modern literature is crucial. And I understand that it has been crucial for 9 years, not before that. We've been working for 9 years to make these bunch of writers who were executed by the Soviet regime one of the biggest points for Ukrainians. And I think, okay, I can say that this is in mainstream. This is important. And it was also like a big, also summarizing for me what I was I had been doing for 9 years now, being a cultural journalist and editor in one of the biggest outlets for culture section. Well, yes, we did that. And so it was pretty much, and that's why it was important to meet this Polish and German perspective, to look at what we have done, what I have done, some flaws and also pros and cons and everything. It was, well, I think, well, these were very cool and interesting questions asked. Maybe we could be drawn to simplifying some things because national narrative, what is this? Is so problematic notion also, but we can, well, as we say in journalism, sometimes silly questions provoke very interesting answers. So maybe that's what draws me back to my conclusion about this importance of stating questions. So it was very fruitful for me to know that in Poland and in Germany there are these different notions. They are different from Ukrainian. They're could not be common, but could in other ways. So yes, so it was an exciting journey actually for me.
Maybe I wouldn't focus on this particular Polish national narrative of freedom, but I wanted to go back to the it was introductory seminar by you, Patryk, and thanks you for that. About we were discussing the problematics of pacifism and peace in general, and as peace is pretty much related to freedom, I think that what was like very opening up for me and very interesting was to combine our discussion of the whole problem of the new pacifism and this whole pacifist movement and its sort of lack of taking an action and of being passive and in a way just accepting that the others are fighting while we just stand for the peace. With the interview that Katerina was sharing with us, a very personal interview, rather like personal talk with Artem Chapey, so the soldier and currently soldier and a writer who calls himself a hardcore pacifist, but now it's a pacifist who is actively fighting for peace. So I think that this this contradictory of the theoretical pacifism and standing passively for peace together with the tough decision to be taken in the face of the reality such as the invasion, the war. These are difficult topics to discuss, and yeah, I'm very satisfied that we had the platform, a floor to talk about it. So of keeping this of standing for peace while having to fight.
Just sorry, one sentence I would like to ask to add to your question about freedom. To give an example about the differences, I remember me saying or answering to Franziska Davids, no, there's actually no discourse on freedom in Germany. And I was thinking like political freedom, freedom of occupation, sorry. And it was only like in the evening when Raphael told me, yeah, Jan, but you're not right. We were speaking all the time about freedom the last 2 years, but it was connected to our face masks. And I think that shows like the differences in the discourses and also like the importance of the topics, like for German and Polish or Ukrainian people.
And Jan, while we are at it, so here we've discussed, like Daria and Zuzanna, they have sort of outlined what kind of new context of certain notions they have gotten from this program. as you said also previously, this goes also about, I don't know, just facts and history and stuff. And on day one, of course, we've been also talking, like in the seminar by Mateusz Fałkowski, so the deputy head of the Pilecki-Institute, about Jerzy Giedroyć, who is undoubtedly a very important figure for our institute. In fact, there is an informal name of the Giedroyć-Institute in our institute whenever we have something about Central and Eastern Europe. And I mean, he's so important for Poland, of course, because he's the builder of the modern Polish foreign policy towards Eastern Europe. He was the first one who said, Ukraine, Lithuania, and all these countries, they need to be our friends, our neighbors. And in the 90s, he even said that a strong, independent Ukraine is more important for Poland than accessing the NATO. And my impression, Jan, was that especially this manifesto of the Congress for Cultural Freedom did something for you, animated you. I might be wrong, but was this really something like a new perspective for you?
I mean, and now we're coming to my blanks about the knowledge of Polish history and important figures. I'm very sorry. As far as I remember, I mean, what spoke to me, like this manifesto was a cultural manifesto. It was, and I think like I'm quoting you almost, it's a cultural manifesto, but it's political. Or it's political because it's cultural, I don't know. But I mean, for me, that's super important. Like, as a person who works with culture and in culture, like theater performance, yes, you can, of course, we have different notions of freedom and like the freedom to express might be considered as a kind of luxury. But on the other side, like I'm experiencing that, for example, listening to and experiencing Ukrainian voices through their art, be it performance, be it literature, be it music, is so important in order to create a kind of understanding, in order to understand the differences. Now I'm being very, let's say, blunt between Russia and Ukraine, which is not a given in Germany. So for me, like, I think this manifesto and this focus on culture as a way of doing politics or understanding politics, that's crucial, because I feel like, yes, it is not only culture makers, but it is artists who convey an experience, convey also maybe a kind of feeling of proximity that allows for I don't know, empathy, not only understanding, but also empathy maybe, like in regards to people who live at another place. And of course, we cannot all go directly to Kiev and to help, but like bringing a kind of understanding also here to the German people, besides the politics, besides the news. I think that's why we need artists, culture, musicians, literature, and so on. So that was an important point for me.
Okay. We'll be slowly coming to an end, but I would like to ask you one more question. No, you can also address this one in a second. But it's just when we were sort of setting up the whole program, like of course the aim was also to include this really large variety of approaches, which you've also mentioned. And my question to you would be maybe just like a quick glimpse what your impression is. Would you say that does this approach for you work more, if I may say so, like a salad bowl? So a lot of different ingredients, but all are recognizable? Or is it more like a cake? So basically they all mix together and they form an unity, and you may reach the same final destination, but basically through different ways.
This is a very complicated culinary metaphor. I don't know.
I like dessert. I would go first
Yes.
with a cake. And also I feel that like there's so many things happening, not one and one, Ukrainian, German, Polish, but it is like this what we're doing together, hopefully. that is creating like the yum yum, the yummy part?
So more like cake.
So everyone is hungry, I think, now. Well, in terms of not maybe the culinary like recipe metaphors, but maybe in terms of how therapeutic that could be, like having a shared meal and having to cook this meal. I don't know what will happen in the end. Is it eatable or not? But apparently, this is like one of the most therapeutic things of all, to cook meal together and to eat it and to try it and to just discuss it. I think one of our, also obviously we discussed different recipes for everything. So I think it's like more like in terms of horizontal way of doing something together and then having like enjoying the result. What it is, I'm not sure. But I don't know. Cake or a bowl? It's like, why? I don't know. Well, I like I love cooking and I love the process. That's why I'm coming to the process, because it's like it's the best.
That's yes, Zuzanna.
Okay, so that was a beautifully posed question about this. What's next after the dinner? So yeah, some of us like probably it's not simple as that we will continue individually or that all together we will work something out in terms of this group of 15 persons and in terms of bigger international relations. However, yes, some of us probably will end up smoking cigarettes on a balcony in a smaller group, discussing something. The others will directly start working on some program and writing it down. The others will, I don't know, end up in bed, whatever. Like there are many. That's good that we could sit at the table together, and definitely the story will continue.
This sounded like a fantastic final statement, and the evening is not over yet. We have some more presentations, and yes, but I would like to thank all of you, like again, for the past 6 days and for this summarizing panel discussion and all the audience.